Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot of exciting things to talk about in the world of decentralized science today. We're also going to cover inflation reading that came out to show that inflation is dead and gone, and the fact that Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market is ripping to new highs very soon. Bitcoin is at least ripping to new highs right now. As we speak, it is sitting at 109,777. It is coming down just a little bit today, but we are above the prior all-time high and holding very strong. Ethereum, on the other hand, is sending. I think it is in the middle of teleporting up above $3,000 per coin so that we can continue on with the uptrend here. This should not be as a surprise to any of you guys, as we saw BlackRock and many of the large ETF holders starting to accumulate hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Ethereum last week. So this should not be surprising to anyone that we're getting this strength in Ethereum. We are also going to talk about some things happening at DeSci Berlin because we got the announcement of the 17 new compounds coming from Pump Science. We'll watch that video, we'll talk about DeSci, and we will just stare at the Sci chart as it is absolutely sending here, with this week being full of really bullish news coming from Poseidon DAO, including a name change. What's going on, Beagle? How's it going, Zaj? Welcome in, David. Hopefully all of you guys missed me a lot while I was gone. I had a good time. I was up north in the mountains celebrating a birthday for Amanda, and we went kayaking and hiking, and it absolutely got exhausted. It was so tiring, but it was so worth it. It was a lot of fun, especially while I was gone, to see all of our favorite DeSci projects sending. Poseidon DAO up 86% in the last 5 days. It is back above $1 finally, and we are holding strong. We are now in the 4th day where Sci has been above $1, and it looks like if today closes strong, it'll be the first day where Poseidon DAO is decisively closing the day out above $1, which is really exciting. Instant relief of my withdrawal symptoms. Needed the shot. Let's go, Stare. Good. Everyone needed the shot. Or are you talking about the live stream? Because I respect that. I respect it. We got the glass of water here. Not sponsored, although it should be. Although I'm showing you guys the Disney side of it. I do not support Disney. Just water. All right. So everything is sending right now for the most part. And it's on a micro scale. So it's not like we're back at all-time highs for our altcoins and our bags. But they are showing a lot of strength, and in my opinion, indicating to everyone that this was in fact the breakout that we were all waiting patiently for. We were all patiently waiting for things to snap out of this downtrend and start sending. And yes, you did, cryptopreneur. Yes, you did. We go look at TIG. TIG is sending further and faster than anything else that I've seen in quite some time. I am a little disappointed that I did not grab any of this and join the ride with you guys, because it is up something like 2,000% from the bottom, or 1,000% from the bottom. Absolutely insane, the innovation game. Now, I did not buy any of this because it was on that steady decline and I was waiting for it to lock out. But that is a lesson to everyone. I liked TIG. I thought it was something that would end up sending, but I wanted to wait for us to lock out at a floor. But a lot of these micro caps, because they are so small, when they do start to send, there is no warning system. There is nothing to tell you, hey, we're about to go up. It's just sends. Because they're so small, when they start moving, they just move, which is why I advocate not to try and time in and out of these things and to just hold the ones that you believe in. Like, look at Hempy. Yesterday, there was a little bit of a pre-warning that we were about to send, but today we're up 35% in a single daily candle. Nothing like TIG, so props to you, cryptopreneur. Hopefully you were up massively. And don't forget, if you make a 3 to 5x off of something, you should probably take your initials. That is just a good rule of thumb. Now, I know that does mean that you will not end up maximizing profits, but you will never do it anyways. So when you're up 3 to 5x on something, you want to take your initials so that you're playing with house money. That is just a rule of thumb that I have not mentioned in a while because nobody's been making money in a while. But now that things are starting to go up, I'm not advocating you sell out of your whole bag or just dump the chart. I am saying that you should play the game smartly, as smart as you can. Not financial advice. but if you want to take it as general financial advice, then go for it. It's just not personalized because I don't know where you guys are at with your bags. But Patrick off equals DeSci pumps. It really did though, David. It really did. But the pump was not necessarily because I took the day off or the couple days off. It is rather because all of the crazy good news that has been coming from DeSci Berlin. This is a massive, massive event. And honestly, I'm surprised everything's not up even more. So this thing Andreas said, which is where I think we'll start with for the DeSci Berlin news. And then, although I'm kind of going out of order here, so let me see a show of hands actually. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys want to keep talking about the DeSci Berlin news, or put a 2 in the chat if you guys want to go look at the CPI data, because that is what I named the live stream. So I might actually need to change the names so that people don't get misled when they click on it. Let me take some sips of water. My mouth is feeling very like I had some sugar, but I didn't have any sugar. I just brushed my teeth, drank some water, had coffee, had an apple, and my mouth is just like, eh. You know what I mean? When you, like, first thing in the morning when you get up and have something that you shouldn't really have had, and your mouth just tastes gross and it's got that weird film, that's kind of what I feel right now. All right, so I got 2 1s, which means I'm going to change the name of the live stream away from inflation falling, Bitcoin rising, to DeSci Berlin pumping DeSci. Or pumping these altcoins. That way anyone who doesn't know what DeSci is clicks on it, you know? Go ahead and hit that save button. All right. Do you think Satoshi is Wayne King? No, I think Satoshi is dead, and I don't know who Wayne King is. Any news on Decipher Fund? No. But let's go ahead and look at everything. So Andreas here posted, because he is over at DeSci Berlin. He lives around Berlin, so he is a really cool dude. I think actually he's not in Berlin. He's in Spain, but it's close enough that he could just make a day trip or a week trip over there. Paul shared that 2 of VitaDAO's IP tokens are on track for regulatory approval. What have I been telling you guys is going to be the catalyst to send decentralized science? I'll wait, okay? There have been a few things that I've said, but this is the main thing that I think is going to send us into the stratosphere as far as community and industry adoption. It is getting industry approval, getting regulatory approval for some of these IP tokens. Then it shows the completed flywheel. We'll have made 1 complete lap around that flywheel, and we are ready to send. What are those tokens that he's talking about? Well, anyone who knows, but you should be pretty in tune with it, right? VitaFast, right? IP molecule number 2, VitaFast, which I'm shocked that we're not sending off of this news, but the fact that we are close to regulatory approval for VitaFast and VitaRNA, the 2 main VitaDAO IP tokens, VitaRNA is sending, which means there's probably some really good news from this one. Let's go on the log chart so we can see it. Both of these IP tokens have been the crown jewels of VitaFast. It has been the pinnacle of IP tokens for all of the BioDAOs, because they have been the furthest along and they have been the ones that have gotten the most recognition. Remember that Pfizer invested into VitaDAO, and there's probably a good reason for that. Both of these IP tokens are the backbone behind 2 biotech startup companies that have been offshoots of VitaDAO from VitaDAO's funding. So this kind of an announcement, this kind of news to show that, and obviously I didn't hear it directly from the source, we're getting it from a secondary source here, but knowing that those 2 are getting closer and closer to regulatory approval is astronomical, massive. Biopharma is deemed too big to change, consuming 18.5% of US GDP, entrenched by the 19th century era patent. They are changing the game. They are literally opening the door with these IP tokens to disrupt 20%. Let me really take a step back and let you guys understand the magnitude here. Nearly 20% of the US GDP. What is the US GDP? We have 27.7 trillion, right? Let's go ahead and take this 27.72 times it by 0.185 because that's the percent that is biopharma. We have $5 trillion currently. The total addressable market is currently $5 trillion that is being disrupted, right? They are not necessarily trying to rid the old industry and create a brand new one, but rather just change and modernize the industry that is $5 trillion in the United States alone. And these IP tokens are sitting at $5 million. And some of these IP tokens are sitting even smaller than that. BioIPTs, there's a lot more than this, but they don't all have trading volume, so they don't always show up on the list. But we look and see Hempy up 40% in the last 6 hours, 35% in the last day. We got VitaFast and VitaRNA creeping up just a little bit. These IP tokens, nobody is ready for the moves that they're going to make because these are such underappreciated assets in the entire crypto space and arguably in the world. Arguably in the world, these are the most underappreciated assets. They're sitting on billion-dollar industries individually, billion-dollar opportunities for each of them, and they're sitting down here at sub $10 million market caps. That's crazy. I just showed you the entire total addressable market is $5 trillion because, again, I want to hound this in. It is 18.5% of the US GDP that is being disrupted or modernized, I should say. This is completely unheard of. All right, thank you for letting me stand on that soapbox for a minute because really, I'm betting big on these IP tokens for full disclosure. I own all of them. If you want to take a closer look at those IP tokens, you come to Molecule Catalyst. I will put the link to this in the description. Not just these projects, but there's a lot more of them. So let's go to the homepage. I think they'll be there. Is this the homepage? I think I bookmarked it actually. Don't look at my bookmarks. Uh-oh. All right, well. Catalyst molecule? Nope, that's the same page I was just on. We got this one, but I want to go directly to the whole list. This is the one negative I will say about their website is that it's not super easy to get around to things unless it's just a totally different website, but app. Is that it? No, it is not. All right, I'll find it in a second. Let me pull this down here and find it off screen so I don't have to worry about you guys constantly seeing everything that I've got going on here. What's good, Don? How's it going? Patrick the DeSci disciple. Let's go. I'll change the name and everything. Did I bookmark it on a different thing? These are the docs. We have a lot more to touch on in this live stream, so it might go over by a little bit here because I do have the Pump Science team. I have a clip from them where they are announcing the 17 new compounds that are going to be going live soon, so definitely stick around, hit the like button as you come into the live stream. We go live Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard, to talk about decentralized science, and join the Telegram, join the Discord. That's where I communicate one-on-one with all of you guys right there in the group chats. There's also news from Dynex crushing the benchmarks against the open source small language models. Absolutely crushing it. Zaj with the list. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Don't know why. Oh, because I was on Catalyst, not just Molecule XYZ. So this is the list. Thank you, Zaj. I'm going to pin that for everyone to see. Why are you bookmarking Chuck E. Cheese? Mods. Timeout C90. No, that's not what it seems. All right, that's not what it looks like. So we have VitaRNA, we have VitaFast, we have FACC, we have Biard, we have MIDI, we have Hempy, we have AB4AD, we have Claw, we have Ovaria, and we have Forge. And there are some more new ones as well that are not on this list that are still under the radar or have not had liquidity added to them. So MIDI is one that just recently had liquidity added to them, but go ahead and take a look at these market caps and appreciate how tiny they are. You can get Forge, which is attempting to recycle batteries with bioenzymes. All right, they have bacteria that can break down some of the components of batteries and leave you with just the useful parts of the batteries so that they can be recycled. You have that type of technology, literally organic material breaking down inorganic material in order to get it to be recyclable. You all know that recycling batteries is a huge problem. If they're able to scale Forge, the revenue per day will be much higher than 100,000. And right now the whole market cap of the entire project's 100,000. You have Ovaria, which is a very strong contender to reduce inflammation in the ovaries. And inflammation in the ovaries is what's contributing to the lack of fertility rates in women who have pursued a career. And that is a massive opportunity at hand. And it's sitting at $112,000 market cap. You have Claw, which is like a psychoactive concoction, I don't know what to call it, a psychoactive ingredient in claws from some Amazonian cat, and it's sitting at $250,000 market cap, and they're doing some really intensive studies for brain health on it. We have AB4AD, which I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. We have Hempy, which just went up 33% to a $690,000 market cap. I'm just saying, these are disgustingly underappreciated opportunities in the space, and they won't stay like that forever. And if TIG is any indication of how quickly things can move when the limelight is on them, when the attention, when the good news finally breaks about these things, they can skyrocket. It was just sitting at a $2 million market cap not but a week ago, and now it's sitting at $20 million market cap. You go look at things like Psy. Psy is just starting to send. They're about to announce some pretty crazy announcements at the end of this week, and I think all of you guys should be paying close attention to it. They are doing the rebranding, right? Getting rid of that DAO component so that they can be assimilated into TradBio more appropriately. But look at how clean of a breakout that was, right? We had the chopping sideways, they broke out, they came down, they retested it twice, and then started sending back up to $1. This thing is on a road back up to all-time highs here very shortly. And look at how quickly when they launched, one single daily candle, they went from 40 cents all the way up to $3. Now I know they don't have the same attention cycle as they did back then, but things can move really quickly. People spend a shitload of money on fertility. Exactly, David, exactly. Think about how many women have been pursuing careers and kind of postponing motherhood and now have to go through IVF. Imagine if there was a supplement out there that you could take that would enhance or like preserve the ability to get pregnant. That is something that a lot of people would use. A lot of people, and especially if it was significantly cheaper than IVF. IVF is, I don't even know how much money it is, but it's like tens of thousands of dollars, especially if you don't have insurance. I had family members have some embryos driven 120 miles for over $2,000, like Uber, but 10x the cost. Yeah, people will spend a disgusting amount of money to have children. And so if you can make that cheaper, or you can actually just make it so that they don't need to spend $2,000 to drive embryos 120 miles. Yeah. And yes, another crazy AXGT. We saw Axon absolutely sending the last couple of days as they announced some cool partnerships here with Scale Network, up from 7 cents, which is right where I told you guys we would bottom out at, but I said it back here in September of 24. Now we're starting to send quickly, and look at how quick it sends when it sends. Let's get that bar pop pattern and just overlay the last spike that it had with the one that we're currently going through. Right on track. If we see Axon go up to 20 cents, give or take, here in the next 2 or 3 days, then have a little bit of a pullback and then absolutely rocket, it will have been going through the same thing that it went through last time. So get ready, guys. Get ready. Lots of exciting time in the market here. A lot of really exciting things going on. Let's go through more of the news, less of the pure hype and more of the news. And then we can talk about CPI and showcase to you guys that everyone's fear of inflation due to these tariffs was so over dramatized, and to actually indicate to you guys that we are having some of the lowest inflationary periods that we've had in half a decade, aka since COVID. Yeah, it's been half a decade since COVID. That's pretty crazy. All right, let's go ahead and look. So we got some exciting things from ValleyDAO here. ValleyDAO out at DeSci Berlin with some boxes, some stickers, some stuff in the box. I don't actually know what was in them, but ValleyDAO has the best design of all. Shout out Sai, who also designed Biard and Molecule and the BioDAOs, and just had an amazing workshop on branding today at DeSci Berlin. So really exciting, actually. These boxes, I think, are a genius idea to just get people hyped up about decentralized science. We see ValleyDAO here, the creator of the Hempy IPT. They got new socks. Oh man, it's cool. It's cool. Let's get people excited, you know? Everyone's now talking about them, which is a really good marketing and PR stunt. Everyone who was there now has a box and is posting about them. So now you're getting people to talk about ValleyDAO and thus Hempy. Also, they have a couple other projects. I wrote them down, but they have the Cacao Zero, right? That's likely going to be tokenized here shortly, the IPT from Cacao Zero. And then they also have Flow, which was from the hackathon that Bio just did a couple weeks ago. Or I think it ended on Sunday. Then, let's keep going. Let's come back to the Dynex news. We have, drumroll, 17 new compounds coming from Pump Science. 17 new compounds. And shout out Mark, this is where I saw it first. I did know, I was told that this was coming here shortly. I was told to keep an eye out for the 17 new names that are launching. We are already following most of them. I told you guys a while ago, I put together that list and I tweeted about it of the new compounds that are launching and their social pages so that you can all follow. 17 new compounds, each one with their own individual drug dev and their own individual socials. On Friday last week, I did a classroom to get everyone ready to start making content from these accounts. So you are probably seeing an uptick in some of the compound accounts talking online. I gave them like a whole presentation on how to make content, when to make content, and how to build community. So hopefully they take it and run with it and actually start posting a ton, because the more eyes on this, the better. Listen to your podcast episode. Well done. Let's go, Beagle. Thank you for that. I did a podcast episode with ValleyDAO and Andrew, and it was a really good time. A lot of you guys tuned in on the X space, but now they turned it into a podcast, and a lot of you guys are probably going to tune in and listen to that. It was a good time. I really enjoy talking about decentralized science, and I really enjoy when people allow me to get on the soapbox and rant about how important attention is in this attention economy. Plus the live streams for the last year where I just rant here for an hour at you guys without really taking a breath. That is something that has been really good. We had 23 concurrent viewers here, so shout out all of you guys who joined in. 9 likes, a little confused, but that's okay. But yeah, keep an eye out for these. It's going to be really exciting. And at the end of the live stream, we'll listen to the 15 minutes of them talking about pump science so y'all can get ready for it and get excited for it. This, I think, explains why Hempy is starting to send. Molecule Labs launched yesterday, and today we have a new data drop for Hempy with Molecule Labs researchers are able to port project updates directly to their token page and beyond, closing the gap between lab and community. So that is really good, because this information drop is what causes those to send. It's what causes the tokens to really push up 33.3% in a single day. It's the drop of news. Where is the information? Activity? No. Details? Maybe. 100,000, million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, septillion, sectillion, decillion. No. 100,000, million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion, sectillion, septillion, octillion. They have 1 octillion tokens. That can't be correct. Ain't no way that's correct. Molecule blog. Come on, guys, hit that like button. Let's go, Stare. Hit that like button. 40K starting out for IVF. That's wild. That is wild. Yeah, so if they can bring that cost down for people, you think that they won't be taking that? One IVF treatment is almost the same price as the entirety of Ovaria. We have 3 IVF treatments, and you'll be spending more than what it takes to buy all of Ovaria. You think that's not going to change the price over time? If they have any semblance of positive news coming out of them, you don't think that'll change over time? All right, so let's see. Visit molecule.xyz. Hempy. We already did this, but I didn't see the news feed. Oh, Hempy project update. Duh. Oh my God. All right, so here is the update that caused that spike. So, Hempy research project confirms enzymes soften hemp fibers. And if you guys listened to the live X space, you'll actually remember that he said that on the X space. He already dropped this information for people to listen to and take action on. That the enzyme that they were using actually did soften the hemp fibers enough to make it a competitor with cotton. So we're looking at some really groundbreaking research. In the growing push for sustainable alternatives in fashion, ticker GROW, get it? Hemp has long been recognized for its strength and environmental benefits, yet its natural rigidity has limited its use in textiles, until now. Backed by Valley Dow and powered by Decentralized Science DeSci, the Hempy project is proving that biotech innovation can solve real material challenges and drive measurable impact. Research update. Hempy's latest research marks a major step forward. Using advanced enzyme treatments, the Hempy research team has successfully broken down lignin, the Na something polymer responsible for hemp's stiffness in raw hemp fibers. The results are immediately visible: lighter, softer fibers without sacrificing hemp's durability. Why this matters. According to the UN, the fashion industry accounts for up to 8% of global carbon emissions. This industry also consumes around 93 billion cubic meters of water annually, enough to meet the daily drinking water needs of 7 billion people over 10 years. Holy crap. And is responsible for around 20% of global water waste, contributing significantly to water pollution and scarcity issues. Further estimates suggest that around 100 billion garments are produced every year, with almost 85% of those ending up in landfills. So to give you guys a scope of how big the problem actually is, and how the Hempy solution is really there to solve that issue and just help reduce the amount of waste, right? What's next? The Hempy team is expanding their work by testing additional enzymes to further optimize fiber properties. Each step strengthens the case for hemp as a cornerstone sustainable fashion, proving that DeSci can fund and fuel real biotech advancements without market-ready applications, or with market-ready applications. As this research progresses, it serves as a clear example. DeSci isn't vaporware; it's building the future for future generations. This is huge. This is really exciting, actually. So clearly, market participants also believed that that was an exciting moment, an exciting news drop, and are willing to take the risk and buy Hempy. Because you can see it was really only two wallets that send the price up that much. So a cool $6,500 of buying volume. Yeah. Even less, $6,100 of buying volume sent Hempy up 38%. So that is really, really cool. I love it. I love it. Love it. Yeah, there's the Hempy update. What is next on this? Well, Borderless Science is hosting a DeSci bootcamp, 3 weeks long, June 2025. This month will bring together individuals interested and or working passionately in the DeSci ecosystem for an immersive experience where Web3 meets scientific research, product development, and science commercialization. Register for your seat here. Are you guys interested? Are you guys interested in going to the DeSci bootcamp? Seems like it's a virtual event. Yes. 4 a.m. Okay. All right. 4:30 to 5:30 a.m. on Saturday. So I will not be attending that event, and likely no one in the United States will be attending that event, but people in Europe can go ahead and attend that event if they want to. That's a crazy time. That's a crazy time slot, but at least we know they're not competing with the 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time slot. Exciting. All right. Now let's talk about Dynex's cool breakthrough, because Dynex is also in the process of sending a bit here today, up 7%, looking like it's holding very strong in this uptrend. And hopefully with the news of their large language model, or it's not a large language model, but hopefully with the news of their small language model here, we can see some aggressive pushes in recognition of what Dynex is. So let's go ahead and look at it. Another step forward for DNX utility. With Dynex's QD-LLM 1.1b model crushing benchmarks, we're proving that more utility equals more value. Stay tuned as we unleash even more real-world quantum power. So let's go ahead and look at it. We have a series of benchmark tests, 7 to be exact, that they've tested Dynex's QD-LLM against the Tiny Llama v1.1 to show that in every single benchmark category, Dynex's QD-LLM outperformed the Tiny Llama language model, right? Now, Tiny Llama is an open source language model. It's a small language model, not a large language model, so it is naturally going to underperform the large language models. But think about this as a pocket-sized language model. So they can move quicker. They can get faster results. It may not be as powerful as the large language models, but there are many, many useful implications for these small language models, like when you're running them locally, or you just need to get a power result from an LLM. It's not an LLM, it's an SLM. But Dynex showcasing how they are actually outperforming these small language models is really exciting. It's something that I would definitely pay close attention to, especially since these are percentages, not blatant scores. So we're seeing a 10% increase, 10 percentage points increase compared to the Hella Swag. I don't know what that is. Honestly, don't know what any of these benchmarks are, so sorry for my ignorance on that. But I just know that it is exciting to see Dynex actually outperforming some of the open source language models out there. So it is stage one, step one, and likely why we saw that surge in Dynex, as people are starting to recognize that the technology backing Dynex is as powerful as they say it is. This will be very exciting, and you guys know that Bill is set to be the beta tester for agentic capabilities on Dynex's QD-LLM. So now that they've finished benchmarking, hopefully discussions can resume of getting Bill integrated and using the QD-LLM, which will be really cool. Dynex X Bill. Bill will be the first quantum-powered AI agent in the world, as this is the first, maybe not the first, but the first that I know of quantum language model that's being worked on. So I don't know what it means yet. Neither do you. Nobody does, because it's never been done before. So this is purely uncharted territory. Purely uncharted territory. And I will say that I've been working on, and this week hopefully get some news to give you guys on the partnership update for Bill. It's going to be a good one. I'm very excited for it, actually. And I just got flames on the message that I sent to the team. So hopefully in the next couple of days, I'll be able to reveal what we've been working on and the implications it'll have. Hopefully a lot of eyes will be on Bill very shortly, because Bill will be integrated into a very prominent DeSci project. Let me take another sip. How's the Dynex job count going? Let's see. I have not actually looked at this in quite some time. So the overall jobs are at 1.4 million jobs. It definitely slowed down with the growth here in the last couple of months. Only adding 39,774 subscription jobs in the last month, but that is still growth, right? Slower growth compared to the 250,000 that was added and the 300,000 that was added in the months prior, right? You see this number right here. It was growing quite rapidly, definitely slowed down here, and the buyback wallet also completely stagnated here. I think they just haven't updated that because I can see them adding. You can actually go see the wallet and see the transactions of them adding. Oh, cool. 1 Dynex. Thanks, guys. That's really exciting. 1 singular Dynex. They've actually not updated it. Maybe because they're working on the new wallet, the transparent blockchain for Dynex, so that everyone can see everything that's going on. We also have the gas metrics, which is a better representation of the total number of jobs. It also kind of stagnated here. So they had a little bit of a slowdown in the month of May, which is okay. That happens. Still growth, but not as fast growth. I wonder what happened here. I know that the network was closed off for a little bit so that they could issue some of the upgrades. Yeah. It's so interesting to me. The month that they have the slowdown is the month that they send the token. So something peculiar. And on the daily chart, Dynex is holding above the 100-day moving average and looking like it's trying to find support above the 20-day moving average. Hopefully we get that quick. I'm going to move this down to be in line with the moving average of 200 days. But hopefully we get that quick push up to this moving average. Let's go, Albert. W. Albert. Let's go. Albert being one of the initiators, or the founding stewards, if you will, of ValleyDAO and thus Hempy and all of the projects that they're working on. Really exciting. Bill redacted terminal partnership. No, Beagle. No. I can't say. Which Sol wallet do you like? I just use Phantom. Let's go, Albert. Feel free to use that clip, Albert, of me ranting about how excited I am about Hempy anywhere you want. I loved that you guys recycled that other clip from my live stream. And it's true. I really am a huge fan of what you guys are doing at Hempy. Really. Everything that you guys are doing at ValleyDAO, honestly, I think is underappreciated. So, big fan. Big fan. All right. Let's go ahead. And if you guys are down, I want to listen to the clip here from the broadcast of DeSci Berlin Day 2, where Benji here was talking about pump science, the ethos, and what to expect, what's coming up. I will slow down the video speed to 1.5x, not 2x, so that you guys don't have to sit through it with me as an ADHD brain would listen to it. But this is good, authentic news coming from pump science, and I think you guys need to see it. This is too big. It's a little small, so we'll just have to take it. Maybe I can go a little bit bigger. Yeah, that's about as big as I can get it. All right, you guys ready? Let's put the headphones on. My hair is a little crazy. There we go. Audio capture device on. And
take it away.
Thanks, Ella. And yeah, enough of the fun shit. Let's get back.
It's a little loud. Let's turn the volume down. I know that was a little loud.
Back to the AI and crypto. So hi everyone, my name is Benji. Thank you so much for having me. This talk is called The Rise of the PhD Gen, playing the Biotech video game. And the best part about the video game that we're creating is that you're already logged in.
Clicker, yeah.
Vibes. You logged in, not by choice, but by some miracle that we can't really explain. We don't really know how we got here or why we're here, but we're here, and it's pretty cool. And so might as well stick around. And look, I hate to go like full Brian Johnson on you guys, but I think he's right. Like the ultimate game is don't die, right? And I think maybe what he has potentially gotten wrong though is that hyperbaric oxygen tanks and like sleeping well isn't going to give that much more time to you. If we want to make real discoveries and like really extend our life, we have to go wade into the unknown. And ultimately that's what we're here to do. And I think we all know that AI is going to have a big part in this, right? Like it's this impending technology that is,
I actually do want to say that and make it a point. I do think that getting good sleep every night will extend your lifespan more than any drug or supplement that you could possibly take. I am very natural thinking in my way of thought though, and that's how I view it. I think at least for the next like 20 to 50 years, Nobody's going to come out with any kind of drug that can extend life more than just sleeping a good night's sleep. And that's just my opinion.
Going to solve all our problems. But the problem is that the training data for AI, which is basically its lifeblood, does not yet exist. If you look at basically how many compounds have been tested to see whether or not they extend life, the answer is basically 2,000. There's 36 billion synthetically accessible molecules that we could test. Anything you come up with, vitamin C, caffeine, whatever, and only 2,000 have been tested. In our opinion, this is absolutely criminal. And so our goal is to basically wade into the unknown, go on this journey, and find what actually can extend our lifespans. And so, so one big challenge, though, is what do you test on, right? Humans are super expensive. They live a really long time, and they're really hard to coordinate. And so if you wanted to test all these compounds on humans, you would probably struggle to get funding, you'd recruit, it'd be basically impossible. So you walk this down from the highest potential organism you could get to, that's the most similar to us, which is us, and you go all the way down to like microscopic worms. What you realize is if you're trying to optimize for developing training data for AI, you are creating this optimization function, which is signal per cost time. And that is what we are trying to optimize for, is feed AI with as much signal as we possibly can with the least amount of cost. And so we've created a pipeline out of this, where we take compounds, we test them on worms to see, do they extend lifespan of the worms? Then we give them to flies, do they extend lifespan of the flies? Then we advance to mice, and finally humans. And as you walk down this funnel, you get increasingly more expensive, the experiments take longer, and hopefully you have higher quality information that's coming in the top of the funnel. And so I think when people look at us, they see us as like just a giant token trading platform. But I think when you look a little bit deeper, what we really are is just basically this funnel. And our goal is to have the best compounds and make it all the way through the funnel. And we are just using market-driven mechanisms to shunt the best compounds through this funnel. And so there's basically two ways to engage with our platform. Number one is you can submit compounds to the top of the funnel. And number two is you can trade the compounds that are already in the funnel. And so our protocol is meant to be very simple. It's basically compound gets submitted, we launch a token, the token trading fees fund all the research, and then eventually our goal is to commercialize all of the ingredients we find that are useful, that extend lifespan, or have the best evidence that they will extend human lifespan, and then reward token holders with whatever proceeds come back. And so, cool. So yeah, maybe going through the science first. So the first experiment we run is on.
Did you guys get that? I know you guys all probably are more privy to what's going on here at Pump Science than the rest of the market, but essentially they take a compound or a specific mixture of different compounds, right? And they put them together and they feed them through a series of animal testing. The animal testing costs money, and they get that money from a fee that happens on the trading volume of the token. So they're tokenizing that IP, and then they are letting people trade it, and then the trading fees generated will be given to fund the research. And then as they get through all of the research, whatever compounds are the best at advancing human lifespan, or the animals that they're testing it on, their lifespans and different biomarkers of those animals, those will get put into a compound that can be for sale as a supplement. So they get that real world consumer-facing product.
C. elegans. They're microscopic worms. They're about the size of your eyelash. And we are working with a company that has basically automated lifespan testing for these experiments. Not only are they helping us develop AI-ready data sets, but they have embedded AI into their experiments to bring down the cost. And so what we can do with basically $500 and a compound is get an effect of whether it extends life with 120 animals, which is pretty cool. Does it predict whether it'll extend our lives? I mean, of course, there's some signal lost. We are not worms, but there is a lot of similarity. And I think that's the important piece. It's like we are 35% similar to these tiny microscopic worms. So it is a super valuable data point. After worms, we go to flies. We're working with a lab that does automated tracking of the flies as well. We monitor them their entire lifespan. We live stream all of this data directly to users on our site. And the goal is for people to actively trade based on the real-time data outputs that come out. And so not only do we just measure them for their lifespan, but we also put them to functional tests. So on the right, what you can see, and on the next slide in a little bit more detail, is fly racing. So we have basically turned fly races into a game. It generates really valuable scientific data. And yeah, we're enabling users to kind of speculate on it. So if you think the compound will be the control, you can take a leverage long position on the token. And anyway, this is kind of the general idea of Pump Science, is we're trying to make science a video game where you can actively be a degen and contribute your trading to scientific progress. And so after the flies come mice. And so mice are super expensive to test on. You'd be surprised. It is definitely a tall ask to be able to fundraise for a mouse experiment. So this is why we run a third. And so yeah, same thing here. We're working with labs that are doing automated tracking. And the important piece here is that you can run functional tests. You can also test a mouse its whole life, but it's not super exciting to just watch mice slowly die. And so we want to make this like actually an engaging experience. And so by enabling live streaming, by creating these functional tests in addition to just the general lifespan experiments, we're able to keep re-engaging users, bringing them back in, and actually make it an intrinsically fun experience to engage with. And so the last, on obviously class of experiment, which we're excited about doing, we have not done yet, is human testing. And so what's interesting here is, of course, we probably can't fund a human lifespan test. We'll die in the process. It just takes too long and it's too expensive. And so what we're looking for is surrogates for human lifespan. So what can we test and get as an endpoint that will predict whether or not a compound makes a human live longer? And what we have found to be the highest quality data point is called VO2 max. It's basically a measure of somebody's cardiorespiratory fitness. It's super cheap to get. Most wearables track it. And so therefore it's very distributed. You don't need to go get lab testing for it. You wear a smartwatch and you get the number. But yeah, so this, it's basically one of the most predictive numbers for how long you live. So when we do human testing, this is likely the data point that we will look for as the primary endpoint. All right, so what data have we actually generated? So to date, we've run, 12 experiments, 5 on worms, 4 on flies, and we have found some interesting data. So rifampicin, which is a commonly prescribed antibiotic, increases the lifespan of C. elegans by 33%, pretty significant. And so yeah, we have 5 completed and 38 that are in progress right now. And in flies, we've tested 4 compounds. The winner right now is called urolithin A. And yeah, it basically works on your mitochondria. And this thing extends. I think we were the first group to ever discover that urolithin A increases the lifespan of flies. So super interesting. I mean, we've only been around for a while. We're already making novel discoveries. Super exciting. And yeah, I think the important piece here is this isn't that many data points, but also the fact that there's only been 2,000 compounds tested, very quickly we'll be able to kind of lap the entire field in terms of the amount of data generated. And again, all of this is just a means to train AI on how to help us live longer. So I think the question is what do we do with all the data once we get it? Are we just going to churn out data and that's the end game? We don't think so. We don't think that the data in itself is intrinsically valuable. We think that really where the value accrues and where we're excited about working with Molecule in this IP protocol is we think that the value accrues to the IP, the actual products that are developed and sold to consumers. And so that's our goal, is to basically either license what we find or develop consumer products ourselves that are actually data-backed longevity supplements. So rather than going to the store, looking at the bottles, whichever one has the fanciest branding or whichever one is shilled by the best influencer, we're actually trying to make this an objective game where the compounds that have the best evidence for life extension are the ingredients that get included in the end product. It sounds very simple, but it's crazy that nobody's really doing this. And so
I want to pause for a second to appreciate the data set that they have here, because the tokens, the idea is that the compounds that can extend life in these animal tests the most will be the ones that get the most attention, right? Because it's a game to own the compound that is king of the pill on each different animal tier. And so far they've had 5 go through worms, the C. elegans studies. And you can see here that Euro was a 6% boost in worm lifespan. Then we had Art here up 20%. We had EGCG plus sulfane up 16%. I'm sorry if I'm butchering these. And then we had Glycosi, which actually killed them at a 5% rate. And then we had Riff, who increased it by 32%. So nobody dethroned Riff in this new launch, but we have 17 new compounds that will have the chance to dethrone Riff. But now going into the flies, you can see that Riff actually had a negative 27% life expansion on those flies. We have 3 more chances here to dethrone Euro from the flies. And so if one of these 3 can do it, then you get a massive, massive boost in those tokens' attention, and thus probably the price of those tokens, right? They're all super small, super, super small. I'm gonna take just a moment to go over here and show you guys the list of them. We have the pump science molecules, 5 of them. The Riff and Euro, which are king of the pills in their respective categories right now. And then we have Art, EGS, and Gauzy. So Art was the best of these 3 new ones at the worms, followed by EGS, then Gauzy. We'll see with the flies, because you saw very clearly that Euro barely did anything to the worms, but was really good at flies. Riff did really well with the worms, but didn't do good at all with the flies, and then neither did good with the mice. So there's also the chance that they'll get outperformed here.
So many of the compounds that are released by other products and other top products in the market are just ineffective. All right, so what is next? Well, I'm very excited to announce for the first time that we are launching a ton of new compounds.
Woo.
Thanks. So prepare yourselves, the compounds are coming. At the end of the day, we're not going to make any new discoveries unless we launch a ton of compounds. And yes, this is just going to look like a massive token factory, but really what it's all about is helping us live longer. We have to wade into chemical space, see what works. We're going to tokenize every single compound that comes through this funnel and let them all duke it out in the arena. And so the first group of compounds that we're testing is in partnership with VitaDAO. they ran this program called the Longevity Prize. And the Longevity Prize was basically
there they are,
going to all the community members that
17.
beat it out and seeing who has ideas for what could potentially extend life, and submit your compound into the arena. And so we're basically tokenizing these and launching the experiments on Pump Science in the hopes that we can do further testing on all of these great ideas submitted by the community. So we're launching 17 now. The goal is to launch more in the future and eventually make the entire system permissionless, to where there are no gatekeepers, there's nobody stopping you. If you can get a bunch of people to help fund your idea, you can run it. And so look, we get this is probably pretty overwhelming. A ton of new compounds, random names, which ones work, how do they work, how do I pick? Well, I think one important thing to note is that if you look at meme coin traders and crypto traders in general, they're much more sophisticated than I think meets the eye. It is much more than just ooh, doggy coin ape. It's actually a lot of looking at leading indicators. What percent of the supply is held by the top holders? Are the wallets who have all the tokens related? There are actually a ton of really, really smart traders who are in the trenches trying to predict which tokens will crank, right? Which will increase in price. And I think at the end of the day, all we're doing is just creating a new class of tokens with new leading indicators that are just scientific. And our goal is to work with a bunch of meme coin traders and convert them to this new class of tokens and see if they'll get on the ride with us. And look, if there are leading indicators that are predictive of which tokens will go up in price, they will find them, and we're here to help them find them. So, but to make the whole system easier, we're kind of creating two game modes. One is easy mode, one is hard mode. Easy mode is you hold the tokens that perform the best. So rifampicin and urolithin A are what we call kings of the pill. They increase the lifespan of the respective animals the most. And so whoever holds those tokens gets airdrops of all the future tokens that are launched on the platform. And so this is a way for you to not have to pick which ones will work and which don't.
You catch that? Do you catch that? Whoever owns King of the Pill gets airdrops of all the future launches to come. Big.
But just collect a small amount of airdrops in each. On the other hand is advanced mode, which we're calling hunters. So the whole game is hunters versus gatherers. And the hunters are actually trying to seek the next king of the pill. They're trying to find the one that will dethrone the prior. And so at the end of the day, the whole game is find the compound that extends life in the animals the most. And so if you do, then you get to claim all the new airdrops. And so there's rewards associated with being early into the compound where it ends up working. So how do you hunt? How do you play this game if you want to play it? So one way is to be a scientist, and especially to leverage AI as much as possible. So what we did here is we looked at all the previous data we've generated. Could AI predict the outcome? All this is ground truth. On the x-axis is the actual data that we generated. On the y-axis is what various LLMs predicted. And what you can see is actually some of the models are predictive. Not all of them. We could probably improve the prompts that we use, but AI can be a tool here to help predict which ones actually work. But of course, if you want to go deeper than that, you can always read more papers and try and synthesize it all. I think we all just know a prompt and deep research is much easier than reading papers one by one. But the other way to hunt is to be fast. So all of the data that we generate is streamed to our app to all users at the same time. And so what we basically want to do is create a new chart that people watch to try and predict whether the price will go up and down. But for us, these data points are scientific, right? And so what we've realized is that a lot of the science that we expect people to understand is super complex. We're trying to simplify it as much as possible. And so what we've done is basically create charts where up and to the right is good, down and to the right is bad. I think that's something that many traders already have a good association with. And so we're trying to create this new chart that they follow and try and predict the price from. And so what we're going to do in this first release of compounds is basically stream the data over 12 hours. So it'll go over one day. And yeah, you can follow these charts. These charts are on every compound page on our site, and you'll basically be able to see which ones are working in real time and try and predict will one dethrone the king of the pill. Okay. Cool. So on the
Do you guys think we should live stream that entire 12-hour stream? Do you guys think we should try and live stream the whole thing? It's going to be pretty boring, and I'm probably going to fall asleep. 12-hour live stream would be by far the longest I ever did. By far. No promises. Probably not going to happen. But I am going to live stream part of it. I am going to live stream as much of it as I can.
Protocol layers, more of the crypto side of things. I think it's important to understand a little bit at least. I'm also running out of time, so I'm gonna hustle through this. So yeah, basically the whole protocol is you launch a token on a bonding curve. Once 85 SOL worth of liquidity has been input into the bonding curve, and then you migrate that SOL to an automated market maker. It's just a more efficient market. 5% of the tokens get airdropped to the king of the pill token holders. 3 SOL pays for the worm experiment. 15% of the tokens are injected into the AMM, and yeah, off you go. Now you've got a trading compound token market. We call our design badass. It's bonding curve AMM dual anti-sniper suite. And so basically the goal here is to make a protocol where speed is not an advantage. And so anyone who's launched tokens or participated in token launches or worked on a token launchpad, snipers are deathly because they're very mercenary. They're only there to pump and dump your tokens. They run bots where they can grab supply early. And what you want is loyalty in your users to create an advantage, not speed. And so we've basically created a way to launch tokens but penalize snipers with dynamic fees. And so important if you're going to participate to be careful of this.
I'm going to expand on that a little bit so that all of you guys are fully equipped with knowledge when these launches do happen. The fee is going all the way up to 99%. So when you see them launch, just wait a few minutes. Because when those tokens launch, if you try and buy immediately, you will lose 99% instantly. And so that's a way to get the snipers to not partake. And now you guys know to wait a minute until that fee comes down, and it'll be live on their website. So you'll see the actual fee live, and then you can decide at what point are you willing to buy to try and get in before the fee goes all the way down to where it'll stay, which I forget what it's at right now. I think like 1% or something. There will be a little fee to fund the research, right? But just so that you guys are aware, anyone who buys instantly upon launch will get cooked because of that fee. But it's to stop the snipers and make the game a little bit more fair.
So yeah, look, at the end of the day, we're here for 4 reasons. To develop novel products that increase human lifespan, to grow DeSci by bringing crypto-native users into DeSci, redirect existing trading activity to research with lasting utility, and to make science fun again. We're here for the memes, and we'd just like to thank our community who's been incredible. It's been
And there you have it. There you go. That was the update I wanted to give you guys on Pump Science. This just happened here today in DeSci Berlin. So DeSci Berlin Day 2, we got the announcement of the 17 compounds to come. You guys keep an eye out on this page because I will be covering as much of it as possible, and I will be giving you guys as much information as I possibly can every single day. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed that I'm not on here as my profile photo, but we see Winos. So W Winos, let's go. Anyone else see their profile photo up here? Just curious. Just curious. Let me take my headset off. And that was good. W. That was good. Put my hair back down in the back. I got a haircut the other day, and she gave me a mullet, but the back, she like kept this hair super long and then didn't cut. Yeah, whatever. I'd wait a day at least. They're very volatile on launch day, at least with ART and EGS they were. Yeah, they're always super volatile on launch day, especially if they get a ton of attention. If there's a lot of attention, then they're going to be incredibly volatile. And if anything we've learned from the last couple launches is that you want to wait until they come all the way down. But with that being said, there's going to be a lot more eyes on these than there were on the other 3. A lot more eyes are going to be on these. So who knows what's going to happen immediately. I know, again, remember, Solana is super big into DeSci now after DeSci Day at their convention. And yeah, I wouldn't be that surprised to see some crazy big engagement. Obviously, we don't know what's going to actually end up happening, but yeah, these spikes will not be there as much because of the anti-sniper launch part of it. So hopefully we see a pop drop and lock so we can get in, but who knows? Genuinely, who knows? Yeah, that's the news, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I had for you guys. I thought we were going to go over quite dramatically, and I'm down to stay and chat and figure out what you guys want to talk about here as we continue on. But that was everything I had. Isn't there a full moon tonight? You know what? There damn is a full moon tonight, which means it is up only season again. Let's go ahead and get rid of these moving averages and go to our most scientific chart indicator. Full moon started today. So if we are to repeat the series, it will be up only season for the next 2 weeks as everyone starts buying into crypto again because the full moon. I don't know. Don't question it, but it works. New moon, tank, full moon, pump, new moon, sideways, full moon, pump, new moon, down, full moon, pump. We'll see. We will see. This is good. Everything is lining up quite beautifully, especially with Bitcoin dominance falling off a cliff here. Yesterday and today, we've had dominance breaking down a bit. And let's get rid of these moving, or the moons, and get the moving averages on again. We came down and are having a full daily candle below the 50-day moving average on Bitcoin dominance. So hopefully we can get a test down as we come down to the 200-day moving average. That would be incredibly bullish for us. Every time that has happened, we've seen our altcoin bags go berserk. Every time it's come down and touched the 200-day moving average, we've seen our altcoin bags go crazy. Sounds believable. I know, it honestly does sound believable though. That's the crazy part. There was something, oh yeah. The last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about here today was CPI data. I know all of you guys have probably already seen it, so this won't be anything new to any of you guys, but we should take a look at it because it's important information. So CPI month over month came in at 0.1, which is really good because if you annualize that month over month, meaning you multiply this by 12, you get a 1.2% inflation rate, which is below what we saw inflation come in at, which was 2.4, which is directly in line with what everyone was expecting. But this means that in a year's time, we will be at a much lower inflation rate, especially given that we had February, March, April, and May all below the monthly readings. So we had a little bit of a spike due to that tariff fear and people front loading as much inventory as they could. And now we're seeing everything cool off and come back down. And yeah, this is really good to show that inflation is going to continue to trend lower. Another thing you can look at is if you look at all items less food and energy, which is core CPI, you got a 2.8 reading, which is the third month in a row of 2.8. But what we saw was the month over month at 0.1 as well, meaning that core is about to fall off a cliff as well. Over the next 2 quarters or so, I would guess, we will see core fall off a cliff and regular inflation, just headline inflation, fall off a cliff, which is in line with trueflation. You can go to trueflation and we look at the data set here. You'll see that it all did fall off a cliff back in February, March, and April, down to 1.4. The data that we look at on these reports is very lagging, very lagging. The data that we get here is a lot more accurate. So we'll see. Things will be interesting. Did you go through the CPI report? I got here late. I did not, Trip, but we will right now. We are right now. So food, everything came in pretty good. The one thing that was dragging us down a lot was energy. So gas, the price of gas. And that, again, was to be expected considering we saw crude oil, WTI and Brent. I don't want to look at it on Pyth. We saw crude oil futures falling off a cliff quite dramatically, right? So they broke down here in April below a trend line or below the support line that we've been at since it broke above in 2021. And so now we're getting that push up to see if we get rejected by the moving averages and that support line. But this broke, and that caused a lot of people to really get fearful, honestly. The crude oil prices coming down is really not great for the health of an economy, but really good for the inflation measures because everything runs off of crude oil, right? And so you see crude oil and just travel as a whole really being a draw downward on the inflation readings and not really anything being a draw upwards. Electricity going up, but that's fine. It is what it is, right? So really good reading, honestly a really good reading, and it is in part why we're seeing the NASDAQ push all the way up to all-time highs practically here. The NASDAQ is almost back to all-time highs. We are just, less than 1% off now? We're 1%, 1.1% away from all-time highs on the indice. And we're seeing everything really putting in these highs here. So we shall see how everything plays out for the next several months, but this was really good. This was really good. I doubt it had any impact on Fed futures though, but let's go look really quick because this is a thing that we need to pay close attention to because in 7 days we will not get a rate cut. We will not be getting a rate cut in this meeting in 7 days, but the July meeting, we saw no real change in expectations. So still no rate cut in July either. September, potential for a rate cut, yes, but nothing's guaranteed yet. We also saw the new proposal for the chair of the Fed to replace Jerome, which I think is going to be bearish replacing Jerome, but in my opinion doesn't matter anything to the broader market. Let's actually go to my page. This is it, right? Yeah. Let's actually go and check it out. I think personally it's going to be a little bearish, but IMO bearish. Nobody really agreed with me on it, but a new chair is not going to be ideal just because everyone knows what to expect with Powell. And I think if they replace him anytime soon, especially given the tightrope we're walking on the economy, it's not going to be a great scenario because nobody's going to really know what to expect with the new person. It's not going to be the worst case scenario, but we'll see. I also know, I forget where it was that they were talking about it, but new Fed chair. Let's see, because it was somebody that we know. I just forget. Yeah, Scott. So someone very close to Trump on Trump's team. but Scott Bessent potentially is going to be the nomination for the new Fed chair. He is extremely dovish, meaning he would likely push for rate cuts. Now, it's not his decision alone, but it has to be passed by the entire board of the Federal Reserve. But this guy being the spokesperson would be fairly dovish for the Fed, which would mean we'd probably get rate cuts pretty soon. I'm mixed feelings on it. Everyone seems to think rate cuts will be the ignition for the entire market to rip. I don't think it's going to be like that, but I think it depends on where the market is when rate cuts happen, right? I personally think that if we get rate cuts here, while we're pushing all-time highs, it's going to be the catalyst to drop the market because they're only going to be cutting rates if things are in a really shitty spot. However, if we do get a drop in the market and then they cut rates, I think that will be the catalyst to send us much higher. So in my opinion, whenever the rate cut happens is going to depend, if it's bullish or bearish, it'll depend on where we're at in the markets. And I know that's not really super exciting for you guys, but I think effectively what I'm saying is that the rate cut will be a pivot point in the market. So if we're super high and they get a rate cut, I think we'll go down. And if we're super low and we get a rate cut, I think we'll start skyrocketing. That's just my opinion. We'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't be that surprised to not get any rate cuts until next year. Because the September one I could see getting pushed back. The October one or the December one would be the only two left. And maybe we get one in October and December. But I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't get any this year. And then some point next year in Q1, we get aggressive rate cuts and the market tanks. So we get that full 4-year cycle. My prediction that this is the last leg for Bitcoin ends up being wrong in that scenario, which I will be super happy if that's wrong. I'd be super happy if we come up here in Q3 and then come down and then blow off top into Q4. That would be amazing. But we'll have to wait and see, guys. And as always, I will be here keeping you guys informed with my opinion and news on DeSci. Your time is your most valuable asset. Hopefully this was worth investing into. And I appreciate all of you guys being here. We had a really good live stream. Lots of good news for DeSci. Hopefully your bags are packed and you guys are ready to take advantage of it. And news on Bill, ideally by the end of the week. I'm working as hard as I can, guys. Working as hard as I can. This is not a change. His term ends in 26, and this is proposing a candidate to replace him. I know, Zaj. I know that. I know that they're just working on getting a candidate to replace Powell, and I know that his term ends, and I know it's stuff that the whole market is expecting, but getting used to a new chair and how that chair speaks is going to be a level of uncertainty that will spook the market to some extent. To what extent, I don't know, but we know what Powell is. We know how to read him. We don't know how to read a new person yet, and that's what's going to spook the market a little bit. We'll see. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I'll see you guys tomorrow.